Hey traders, so another recap for you of my Emini S&P 500 futures trading for today, Friday, June the 10th. And ended up being a pretty good day. We actually saw the markets opening up a little bit more, a few more swings going on, some bigger moves, because this week has been a little bit tight, a little bit kind of limited in terms of volume and volatility. But best day of the week here that I had, kind of got better and better as the week went on and ended up just over 15 points. So definitely happy with the result. But taking a look at some of the trades in here, we started off actually in the pre-market. We had a pretty good run to the downside, stabilized a little bit, but we had pretty clear level here that acted as some good support. And then we kind of pushed through, and we're coming back up to test it. And so, trading in here around that market open, you always have to be a little bit careful because, as I talked about in yesterday's recap, reversals, that sort of thing, can be pretty common. But if you've got a good level that's established and minimal momentum kind of going into it, often going to at least try to make a continuation move in the direction of the trend around that open. So kind of waited to see how things were going to hold here on a deeper level pullback. I like these, as long as they're in line with the trend. And as things were holding, momentum was low, took a short here and managed to hold this one for a pretty good run. And really was just continuing to hold on to it simply because of the prior move to the downside. Kind of just mentally kept my stop behind these consolidations here. Did the same thing here as price consolidated, and then as you can see, it came back and took me out. So you can move a physical stop behind these. I was just kind of doing it sort of mentally until we got into some really slower stuff here, and then just jumped out. Was hoping for maybe a bit more of a run, but definitely not a bad move there. And took another trade here, more conservatively, as you can see, further back, which is something that I'm going to do when prices already run a fairly long ways, starting to slow a little bit. So basically just kind of got out and then jumped right back in looking for another leg. And when that wasn't really happening here, and you can see again price slowing, kind of retesting back into that entry location, and things really flattening out. When that's happening, there's a pretty good chance that even if things push down below the prior low and continue on, get that trend continuation, that they're still going to respond on a first test here and pop back up. So I was happy just taking the high percentage profit essentially there, brought in the target a little bit, just targeting that support level, because I did expect that we would see some buying, maybe not as much buying as we saw, but definitely some that would bring things back in towards that original entry location. But from there, because we did see some pretty strong buying, I was willing to try and trade the other way, looking to maybe test back up into this level up in here, which was just around this 2091, as you can see. So it was pretty clear, pretty clean. So I was looking at maybe testing back up. But after a couple attempts to push up, no real momentum, I just took the profit off the table. And that's a little bit, maybe aggressive to do. But considering that I'm going against the trend, I don't have a problem with it. So in the vast majority of cases, I do try to aim for bigger targets, at least 1.5 points, 2 points. Really try to keep a strong reward to risk, because I think that's really important to have your average wins be large compared to your average losses. But if the market is not really, working out the way that you kind of had expected, your original setup is kind of being invalidated by limited momentum and lack of follow through, it's all right to be adaptive to, the market condition. And I know that I'm going against pretty good trending action to the downside. So if I'm not finding momentum and follow through the upside, very easy for sellers to step back in. So I was fine just taking that profit off the table, because at that point we weren't seeing those those buyers taking very much market control here. And then I had a long in here, which is actually it's listed as a non-STA long, because it's not one of our normal setups. It's one that I've talked about a fair bit with people in the people that I work with, students in the live training environment, in the STA training program. But it is a very contextual trade and really requires a extensive consolidation at a clear level, and a little bit of kind of false break action too, trapping some traders. So it's a special setup that doesn't come up all that often, but when it does, often very favorable, very good runs can be caught out of it. So Took that one here basically on the breakout of this pattern that had some traders who were probably going to be trapped short there, likely to accelerate things the other way. So initially I was actually just looking for this swing high, but because of how strongly we popped up, just started to kind of trail things along. And if there's one thing on this day I probably should have done differently, it would be kind of hanging on to this for a little bit more of a run, maybe just hiding my stop behind this level and letting things go. Would have been able to get a good 5 points there at least, which is usually my more distant target. Could have made this a really good day. But, I was okay with just having a target here because usually this sort of area is going to react, even if it just comes down a point, point and a half. But still a solid profit there, and I caught a good chunk of the swing. So, I was definitely happy with that for a more aggressive entry, a more aggressive move. Tried a couple more trades here, one long. Then things became, getting a little bit extended and kind of not really reacting that well off the level, deeper pullback into a lower low here. So not really surprised to see that one fail, but not too much I could do from a management standpoint. And then tried a short here. And we were already, now we had kind of seen that momentum to the upside, seen that buyer control. So we had already switched direction a couple times, seen some strong buying. So if I didn't get some strong selling here, I wasn't going to take much risk. So I brought things in pretty tight. So overall, it worked out quite well. Gave a little bit back at the end of the day and then just called it a day after an hour and a half of trading. But overall, still a very solid one. And, for what was kind of a slower week, pretty happy with the result of just over 15 points. So I'll put together a more thorough video kind of review of the week and a post on the blog as well for people who are interested in that. But hope you had a great trading week, and looking forward to putting together some more videos for you, some recaps for next week as well. Have a good one, guys.